Today we have one matter before us regarding the potential to vote for a ban to support the city's bid for CDS funds for the library. And with that, City Manager Pierce, do you want to talk us through?
Yeah, maybe I'll just give a little background on kind of the reason, especially for those who may be calling on, like, why is this special meeting being, called for? This is happening pretty quickly. I apologize for that. In some ways, just to take some of the councils who were here last time, similar thing, congressionally directed spending opened up. Sarah came with a presentation, and we had kind of a moment on, like, gosh, should the council do something? There's some things we could do, and it kind of was just like, all right, well, Charlie, you read a letter of support. Obviously, we support this in general, but we didn't do like a definitive council action in support of the congressionally directed spending request. We didn't get that request. I don't know if it's because of my letter not being sufficient enough for some of the council pieces, but when this came up quickly, we were talking about it in our project management team meeting. Sarah had brought up that, gosh, some of them are open and then they need to be applied for in like less than 2 weeks, and some of them are 3 weeks. I could get it from our congressional representatives' viewpoints. They don't want to keep these open for a long time. They want the ones that are shovel-ready, that are super important. We also recently had the capital improvement 10-year planning discussion on the initial phases there on those kind of top 15 items. This was top of the list, and is our one big request for congressionally directed spending last year. We didn't get it. It's at the top of the list of our capital improvement plan as a major investment. The library, I think, Sarah's done incredible presentations on this project, tons of public workshops, full needs assessments of the entire building. Thank you to the trustees. We have a couple here tonight as well. So we talked about it at the project management team meeting and said, hey, there's still enough time to get it in the paper to call a special meeting on Monday to I could see either no action at all, and maybe that's kind of where we want to be from last year. I've put together kind of a proclamation, a whereas, that could be an official kind of letter of support from the city council, which may help here. Talks about the shovel readiness, talks about, this is a cornerstone of our civic and educational pride in this area, the big needs of the building. But there's also, which will help us score better, I believe, is, that we're moving forward on securing funding for this project should congressionally directed spending be approved. So that's kind of the two pieces there I think that the council may want to consider acting upon. One is just a proclamation of support, could be one option, and the second piece would be to authorize me to reach out to secure a ban and then come back to the council with those options at a later date and kind of discuss the implications there. Obviously, as we've talked about with bans before, that doesn't obligate us to interest or anything in the near term. It would really only be upon the recipient or the granting of a $2.5 million or thereabouts that the match would be. And we have a little mistake earlier on, but the match to the $2.5 million would be $1.25 million for the ban. It's because it's 50% of what their match could be. As you can see in some of the breakdowns here, if we wanted to ask Sarah to modify to say, hey, why don't you request 3.75? I think Orono got like 3.6, a similar size community, similar level of service needs, I can imagine. They also have a big educational center there, which I'm sure has a big library. So, but I didn't dig too deep. They did mix. It was a mix of city funds, matching, plus private philanthropy. The library already has around $500,000 cash on hand that could go to a project like this. But if we're asking for $2.5 million for a CDS request with a $1.25 million ban, that would be the match. We'd still be about 1.565 for the capital campaign to make the full extent of the project go forward. So we could potentially, I think, consider asking for a 3.75 or a 3.5 and a 1.75 match for the ban to go out to secure. Those are kind of the options on the table. I know you've seen some of Sarah's kind of needs assessment beforehand here, and just to give you a little bit of perspective for FY '28 next year, we're just in the general fund side of things in terms of debt service, we're at about 1.414 million going into FY '27. That'll be the next fiscal cycle. We're currently in FY '26. The following fiscal cycle, which is if this project were to be approved, we drop off by about 150,000 in debt service to 1,261,000. And then we drop off a little more over the next 3 or 4 years. In FY 30, we're down to, which is calendar year 29, we're down to 885,000. So as we talked about in the capital improving analysis, our debt service is somewhat low. We know we also have the fire truck and the school track to be figured in here. But this is such a priority for the city that it, and due to the kind of nature of the CDS request, felt like it deserved discussion on if we should try to move forward with something a little stronger from the council as well. I don't know if Sarah, if you wanted to add something, or if the trustees.
The questions is helpful.
I have a few questions regarding, so if we vote to approve a ban, we're just voting to go, seek, say we've approved a ban for this project, but we wouldn't be, would that be the final authorization for a ban, or would it come back to the council for any form of approval of the specific nature of the ban?
Yeah, I would still bring it back to council for approval on kind of the nature of the ban. Some of the legal details, Jim Safi and our bond counsel, we've had some initial discussions with him, but we're still waiting back for some questions on like how you could phrase the trigger upon congressionally directed spending. But this would at least sort of begin that process of further discussions with Safi, and not necessarily an obligation. Did talk to a former city official too, and she was like, yes, this is a ban. This is not, a guaranteed future authorization. This is something the council essentially can signal their request, and then I see probably the April meeting coming back with additional information on what that ban could be.
And so I guess on that point, when would we know what, I know it's impossible to know with Washington, but like, is there an anticipated date range of when, is it this spring they'd be voting to approve CDS funding? Do we know that?
Sarah, do you remember when we got denied last year, I guess?
It is late spring. I feel like it was June last year.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought this was really.
No, people, it's recorded. We got to make sure people can hear it.
CDS last year, I'm pretty sure it was, we got notice that we were denied in June. But what happened last year, at least in my conversations with other people, is that all of the requests last year were denied, all of the new requests, because the requests from the previous year were put through again, because those are the ones that the funding was canceled for. So this year is supposed to be even more competitive, because everyone that was ready to go last year is submitting again this year.
Okay. That's very helpful. Thank you. And I guess on that question, let's just say we receive the funding, for hopefully, in my opinion. And so for this year's budgeting, we could potentially have and then it would, if we were to ban it and need the money, and we would be bonding it probably in the fall.
Fall of FY '28.
If FY '28, yep.
Yeah, so we'd be essentially looking to pencil in some debt service, which on the ban drawdown for the bond for next year, which we're already doing on the track and the other piece, although those ones might be eligible for a spring bond if we can kind of clear the decks on those. But still debt service in '28 either way.
Okay, so are we not anticipating having to spend the money until FY '28?
No. Yeah,
Okay, so we don't even need to, this wouldn't be budgeted for, it would just be more like accounted for in the capital improvement plan?
accounted for, we might put a little bit of money into the bond council piece, although, we've already talked to Sarah, they're using their donor line funds, which aligns with this for even our initial outreach to Safi and some of the smaller fees, but we're not talking huge pieces that'll just kind of be accounted for in the library's operating budget for the near term.
Okay, great, that's helpful. I just wanted to get a sense of how it would stack up funding-wise.
Yeah.
Any other council questions? Councilor N. Smith?
Thank you. Two questions. When we're talking about drawing down the bond, I assume because this is I can't imagine this would all get done in 1 year, that this would like begin in fiscal year '28 and we would bond as needed each year? Or are you looking at bonding all at once because we're just looking at the budget and the implications for timing?
We're hoping this is a one-year project beginning fall of '27.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second question is trying to get a sense, it feels like we have two options. We can write a letter of support like we did, or commit to a ban, which obligates us, if we get the congressionally designated spending and we've committed to a ban, it means we have agreed to up to that amount to have a bond for that.
Yeah, and I would note in this initial stage is to authorize me to secure so it's really kind of a show of, I think the two phases. One is the whereas, a proclamation of support for directing a congressionally directed spending is sort of the council's note of support. And the second piece is that, we want to, it is a note on these congressionally directed spending. They want to give these to communities that are looking to get shovels in the ground and looking to, invest in critical assets. And this has been our one we've been talking about for 2 years. We're going to need to fund this. I think in some ways, part of this is discussion. Is we have a time crunch on this on this direct spending thing. So there's a little bit of like, do we try to ask for the 3.5 million? And what's one of the awkward things about city government is, we gotta. Geez, they may be watching right now. Why are they? With our friends from the Bangor Daily News here, I've already had one conversation with Sarah on this exact point. So do we ask for the 3.5? Really try to get closer to what if the match was 1.75 in a band, that we're all the way there with the 500,000 or so the library already has. If the CDS gets at 3.75 million for a request, we do half of that. Sorry, I'd have to bring the calculator out. We could go towards trying to really show that we've secured the full package and this is ready to go. We have $500,000 in private donations. We've got the city council really values this as one of its highest, or if not the highest priority in our capital improvement plan beyond the siphon. That's it's also important, but and that this would give us a very strong package. I feel like for our congressional representatives, like this is Ellsworth's highest need. This is a really big project, almost 5.9 million. If we don't get a CDS spending to a pretty significant effect, that's going to be a lot of private fundraising we're going to have to do, or a lot more debt service on our capital asset. And, it's not just, hey, we'd like to have additional spaces because we're swamped with programming, as many of you saw from previous presentations. It's like, we don't have sprinklers. Because it wasn't needed for code at the time, but that doesn't mean we don't need sprinklers in that very old building right now. I think we did some repairs on the sewage grinder, was it, that we used the last of the ARPA funding on?
Yeah, don't remind me.
On some issues there, like this building needs love, and it's.
Well, again, the building is well-loved. It needs money invested in it.
Correct.
It's not the same thing.
The HVAC repairs alone are almost $1 million.
Right.
That's.
Any other, Councilor N. Smith?
Thank you. So many questions, all in support of trying to thread the needle here. There's conversation about what if we ask for congressionally designated spending of more. Is there a downside to that? Do they do partial payments of
There is a
these?
field in the application, yes, that's will you accept a partial award?
Okay. So I don't see a downside for asking for more. So it sounds like that won't work against us as they're
I don't know.
prioritizing.
Yeah, I don't know.
At bare minimum, it would give us more leeway with the project. In no doubt, the negotiations, even a partial of the higher amount could still be more than what our initial ask.
Right.
And it would help save the town money as well if we with the match.
Okay.
So just to clarify, what's the date we want to submit this if we were to proceed with it? Like tomorrow or?
Golden's is due on Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay, so, now or never for us. And I guess I'm a little lost. So, right now, we're saying we're gonna request 2.5 million, but we can ask for more.
We can. I know it's very rare that they award more than 5.
Okay, so, and I guess what is the 2.5 million, where did that number come from? Just, is that a number we thought?
Yeah, that was from our
Competitive.
project management team discussion on, okay,
Yeah.
around half the project plus the 500,000. But then Sarah's and I were talking to, okay, what is that 50%? Is it 50? It's not 50% of the project, it's 50%.
It is up to 50%.
Up.
It could be less.
Could be
Match
less.
Could be less.
Yeah.
Um,
Because there's a whole bunch of other communities out there trying to
Oh, yeah.
get onto the band, but, maybe we'd be better off if we just ask for what we got right now. It'd be nice to have the whole pot of gold.
Always is.
I'd love it. That'd be great if they would even fund the whole thing, but.
That would be
yeah, I think
so
it's One of the tough
nice.
things about this, right? It's hard to get into somebody else. Whoa, 3.6 to be too. I look at it from Orono. Orono got 3.6 million in.
What was the cost
2024.
of that project?
I think it was a factor much larger in like the 8 range. I can't find the
Okay, so
initial
the
data, but
ratio is different.
when I remember reading up on it, there was city match, there was private match. They layered a fair amount of this together. I'm trying to find it now. 7.5.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
So
kind of
they
one of
got
the
half.
things that,
In that
theirs
ballpark.
seemed to be a really big project as well. I mean, the renderings and drawings did. I think they have a much newer building than us too.
Yeah.
Like they were expanding, so it was like I'll be wrong in the figures, but it's like an early 2000s building, or maybe late 90s, that they're expanding onto. We have 18. What is it? 1820?
1817 was the year.
Yeah, we got a
Still house was
historical
built.
building that
Yeah.
we're, investing money into that's probably well worth it.
So there is an argument to maybe try to get up to that maybe 3.5 million, closer to the Orono $3.6 million is what they actually got for their piece of it. I don't know if the exact matches from them. And then that would just up the potential if we're doing up to a 50% match in the ban that I'd be seeking would be an increase above that. So
And just to clarify on that point, if we were to say, ask for more, and tonight we'd need to increase the amount of the ban if we wanted to keep with 50%. But if we don't have to allocate all that, we're approving a ban, but depending on what we're awarded and what other funds come in, we don't necessarily have to, it's up to, as the deputy city manager noted. And at this point, the ban, at the very earliest, would be in the fall.
yeah.
So we've got time and we'd have a lot more information. So the way I am thinking about it, and I want to hear counselors and staff's thoughts, like, if we're going to, so staff brought the 2.5 to us. We're discussing if we want to go higher, then, we can always ask for more, and then I think that means we're going to, thus we would change the number of the ban or requesting. So that's how I see it. As far as 2.5 versus 3.5, I guess I'm relying somewhat on you folks that are more familiar with this process and I think our goal should be gonna put us in the best position to win it. So whatever, if that's 3.5 versus 2.5, I don't know. And if you guys have any thoughts on that, I think that would be helpful.
That's also why the whereas is nice to show support more than what we did last year, which is just a city manager letter and kind of a general conversation in council. So I think that's a good piece. I know Danielle, our director of urban planning, was really one of the reasons that we kind of elevated this too. Was, she used to work on the grants management side of things, the federal government and USDA and all their urban forestry grants, and she's like, we really wanted to approve those things that are going to go. That we know that community that has the funding secured, is ready to rock and roll in this project. This isn't like a pipe dream that they're like, hey, if we can get some congressional direction spending, maybe we'll think about it in half a decade or so. Like, this is ready to rock. This is going to put shovels in the ground. This is incredible community need. It's gone through multiple rounds, and this is our second round with this project. So for me, that was why it would be important to show a signal to the band as well, that if you approve this CDS spending, like, we've got a great team here. This library project has been vetted, a bunch of different ways. It's our most critical piece. It's the top of our SIP plan, and we're factoring it into our debt service. So as soon as that CDS spending hits, like, I'm going to be talking about the ban, drawing it down. Here's where we're going to go to the RFP. If the only holdback from Congress is going to be when those disbursements are going to go. We have an architect on board. We have great local contractors. We can got a new RFP process that we're going to be able to get it out to bid quickly. And as Sarah has talked about, like, we've already got a kind of phase one to put it all together this time too. This isn't like a decade process. And if we ask for maybe that 3.5 million and a 1.75 match, which would be a little increase here, with the private donations, like, we're there. We've got the funding is secured with the ban, with the congressionally directed spending package, with the amount of fundraising that's already on hand. If the project has a little bit of mission creep, we might need to raise a little more funds, as you said. Also, you don't have to just use the ban. We can use additional city funds. We can use other pieces. But to me, that could make this package. If 3.5 million from the feds, which is $100,000 less than Orono got for their library, the council's agreed to 50% match in the ban, which works on our debt service, plus the $500,000 from the library that they've been saving for just this piece. That gets us to a pretty, I think, strong package of a shovel-ready project that's the biggest upgrade, I think, in the city and their capital assets and community need, I think, that we have right now.
So you think 3.5 is probably more competitive?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, I have no idea, and I don't know what the council, but I don't think any of us here, correct me if I'm wrong, any of us have any insight whether 2.5 versus 3.5 is going to make us more competitive. So unless folks do, I think we're.
I would just guarantee that if we ask for 2.5, we won't get 3. I know that much about how the process works.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about the process? Are we making the same request to all 3 members of the delegation? Okay, so same letter, same everything, and then
Yes.
hopefully they support our single thing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from council on, I guess, really any of it? Councilor Halloran?
How long have I got?
A reasonable amount of time?
I'm haunted by the fuzzy math that I'm listening to tonight. I'm a big believer in our library, but this city has spent so much money on what I consider wasteful projects. This is a bit haunting because I don't think anybody in the room understands the full process. I think we're all shooting darts. Has anybody asked anybody from Orono the whole process, what's happened, what they did, what they didn't do? They obviously are a successful neighbor. Has anybody reached out to them and talked to them about their process and how many times it took and so on?
I met with Jessup that also received CDS funding. They received $500,000 2 years ago, and I
You
met
met with who?
Jessup Memorial Library. It's Bar Harbor.
Okay.
So I met with their board chair,
Okay.
and they submitted once, but they had a very successful capital campaign of $14 million. So they had a small CDS request, but they did receive it.
And just, my understanding is we request the money, if we are awarded it, we receive it for the project. Is there any further complications there?
Not
So
that I
it's
know.
pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I mean, Councilor Hallen, I have questions regarding the number they set, and we've asked them, and I think what it is we're not sure what's gonna make us the most competitive. And I think Councilor Smith made the good point of, well, then we might as well ask for more, because we know we can't get more if we don't ask for it. I don't see anything else that's fuzzy here. It's an imperfect science dealing with Washington DC, that's for sure, but I don't think there's anything fuzzy about this.
Well, that's your opinion. If I could continue, it's fuzzy to me, but I have a little different question about this. This bond anticipation note is essentially a construction loan that is drawn down as needed during the construction process if it goes forward. Is that fair? Is that everybody's understanding?
Correct, yeah, we wouldn't be
And
drawing anything down unless
Right.
this was approved, yep.
so my question is this: what harm would it be to increase the bond anticipation note up front if we need it? Why are we stuck on 50%? Why aren't we bumping that bond anticipation note far higher than 50%? We may never draw it down. What matters what the number is?
I think that's a fair point. It's up to 50%, like, I don't think they require, there's not like a requirement of more than 60%. So for this, it would be the show for our submission. And again, this is quick, but that's also part of the discussion we just had. I've got a lot of questions for our bond counsel on exactly some of the paperwork that would go into this, that I want to bring back to council for discussion. This is really just to authorize me to move forward towards securing a bond and bringing it back to council as separate from the whereas. It's a-
Securing a bond or a bond
Sorry, a
anticipation
bond
note?
anticipation note, yep.
So I don't understand if, I think the spirit of this conversation is to be prepared if the city is awarded this money. Being prepared. What matters if we're prepared? This is a $6 million project. You can call it 5.87 all you want. It's $6 million, okay? And you're asking for 2.5 million, maybe you ask for 3, maybe you ask for your 3.75, maybe you ask for whatever. But this is all hypothetical, and if this is just an approval of a bond anticipation note that we may never draw down, I don't understand why you're not putting a good faith forward. Because if you get 3 million, I'm sure there's strings attached that nobody will like. There's no free money out there, folks. This is money that's gonna have some strings attached. But it's potentially half the cost. And in comparison to some other things that I've seen, this isn't spending any money, this is preparing in case we have the opportunity. I don't understand why we wouldn't put forward stronger than 50%. We may never draw it down.
Councilor Smith?
Steve, I want to see if I understand you. What we're doing
You'll
now
never
is,
understand me.
okay, let me reframe. In this particular instance,
Okay.
I would like to understand your point. We've been strategizing about what's the best foot forward in this. And we've been talking about, can we legitimately increase our ask for the congressionally designated spending because it would be less debt for the people of Ellsworth. But you're suggesting, I think, an equally or maybe more powerful argument of, let's show them that we support it so much, our match could exceed the 50% requirement. Is that the point that you're making?
Correct.
I think that's a powerful point.
I don't know how this works, by the way. I don't think anyone in the room knows what triggers success or failure in the
Well,
process.
it's congressionally designated spending, so they decide
Yeah.
on some parameters. But let me, if I can, Pat, I think if we could, so thinking this through and strategizing, which I would say is not fuzzy math, it's like, let's play with this and see what happens. If we increased the ban, because I think it's a really good point about if we show that we'll put in more than 50%, that shows a level of community dedication that should, if logic is involved, tip in our favor. And I wonder if we can also, what happens if you say, we're gonna ask for 3 million and we're willing to put a ban in for 2 million and show that we're willing to go that? Because if I understand, the capital campaign has not been achieved yet.
No, it wouldn't start until April.
So it would be like up to, we could,
And that's what kind of I was saying, instead of the $2.5 million request, you get up to 3.5 or 3.6 with a $2 million up to ban, which would be more than even the 50%, plus the $55,000 they have cash on hand.
right.
Like, the financing is there. We don't, this, what you have here would still, we're gonna need to come up with 1.5 million through a capital campaign, in order to get there, but this, if our application package was, say, 3.5 with an up to a $2 million
Yeah.
ban, then with this other funding, we're there. And to your point, Steve, yeah, this is not, all of a sudden, there's the money's flying out the door here. This is just giving us the opportunity, if the Congress does give us that 3.5, that we're there and more, and we have the full financing of this package, and then we can kind of move from there. And I do have, rightfully so, some questions with our bond counsel that I want to discuss a little more and come back at the April meeting. So that's not just a show for the council for me to move forward on this. This isn't the last. We'll have to have more public input. And then maybe Sarah can talk to Orono and some of these other pieces. I think maybe having some of the councilors reach out directly to our congressional reps could be helpful too. I've known that's been successful in previous projects on stuff like that, just to show how important this is to the city. This really is our big ask. It's our second year in a row where this has been our only CDS gas. We've gotten lots of CDS in the past on big infrastructure projects, and we were really thankful for those pieces as well. But this is one that's infrastructure and gets that like community, you can feel it. It's not
And
just like-
education.
and education.
And it's, because all these CD, the whole process, the staffers look at it all, and they tell the senators and the representatives, what do you think? This package is put together well. They want it. They really, this goes, and it would look good, especially if some of them are running for office.
Do you think that has
The-
implications for their decisions?
A lot of things play into stuff like that.
I
You know what I
agree,
mean?
I agree.
And yeah, hearing Steve's point, this is something we really think is important. And it might even help out with the fundraising.
Councilor Howland, you got a question?
So I just want to go on record that I'm not for being greedy, Gus. Okay? If you're allowed to ask for 3.75 million, I think that's wrong. Sure, maybe we don't know the process. I'm sure I don't know the process, but I don't think we need to be greedy, Gus, that asks for every penny that you can get. I think that, and backing up here, I'm not sure that I like the idea of $6 million being spent on this library, but if someone else is gonna pay for half of it, then it might get a little more exciting. But we're talking about a bond anticipation note, which is potentially, theoretically, a construction loan, okay? My feeling is that if you're gonna do a bond anticipation note and you're not committed to anything unless the project goes forward. Make it 2.5 million and request your 2.5 million. I don't know that that does anything, but if it doesn't, my understanding, unless there's some political trick that's gonna get played, that, hey, we're not gonna draw on this unless this is there. And now, maybe I'm misunderstanding what the local banks will do, but my understanding is that the bond anticipation note is there, and you draw upon it as needed, and then you bond the amount you used.
Yeah, and there's some expiration on the interest rates locked for a certain
Well,
amount of time.
right,
so- But yeah,
right,
so let's say
okay,
that, yeah,
okay.
exactly.
But I don't understand, if we're just talking about a potential, and you can get someone to pay half the bill, why we're not asking for the $2.5 million bond anticipation note and asking for 100% match. Obviously, we can't say that in this application process, but apparently that goes into the process. I've never seen this application. That, hey, maybe they don't look at it. Maybe they laugh and say, you don't need it. I don't know how this works, but
I think, Sarah, it's the, no more than 50% is required.
Right, depending on where the funds come from, what
Of-
revenue stream.
Of
Yeah.
the match. Now, the project may exceed what,
Right.
their piece is, but so you could add the band, but they're not gonna require that as part, it's not gonna, I wouldn't say score us better. And there's a couple informational webinars that I think Senator King's office just sent us, so I'm looking forward to jumping on those with the team to get some more of these pieces on where that may be at, and that's why we called this special meeting too, to kind of, hey, let's start to put ourselves in the best position, as you said, strategize, Counselor Smith. So I could see having more band just for the library, if we get the match, we're good, hey, we're there. That's why it's kind of like if we do the 3.5 and we do a $2 million, even though that, plus the library is cash on hand, like, we're there.
Well-
And we don't have to, unless it's actually gone forward, we're not drawing down on the band. We'll think of something else for the library. I think if we don't get it 2 years in a row on this congressional directive, we got a ton of capital stuff. We're gonna have to ask for new things next year as well. So I really feel like this is the year, it's our second year on the library. Let's put ourselves in the best position possible so that if they, our congressional reps can say, like, this is really what Ellsworth has put at the top of the list. If the feds can kick in half of this project or close to it, we're there with a potential ban and the capital campaign, and we can get shovels in the ground.
could we hear from the two of you and your thoughts? I know you don't like public speaking, but this is important.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear what your thoughts are
Oh, you mean-
from the podium.
From the podium, I see. You know exactly how much I dislike looming over the podium.
I just want to hear, you folks have done all the work here. I want to hear
Well,
from everybody.
First, I have to agree with the group in general that I don't have a crystalline sense of the congressional funding dynamic. The limited studies I have done so far, and Sarah and the group have worked together on this now, as you know, for some time, trying to find the best way to move forward. Anecdotally, and I don't have anything to support this other than my sense of the things I've read in the last month or so, there seems to be a certain tendency for grants to be awarded in proportion to the amount the community is willing to put into the adventure. Sarah mentioned Jessup, for example, a $14 million campaign. They requested and received $500,000. I think one of the reasons that we focused on the funds that we've presented is trying to find a golden mean between asking for more than perhaps, and again, Washington 2026 spring, I have no idea where we might be heading, but I'm getting a sense from the limited material I've studied that to some extent, something not as high might be more significantly considered than something that was asking for more. Again, I can't do more than suggest that's what my sense of things is from what I've read. There does seem to be some logic to it, though. Orono, do we know what Orono put into their?
Was their match? Yeah, they did over and over.
Was their match. So they did 3.6 is what they got
Okay.
from the feds, and they put in 2.6, and there's probably some private
According to
funding.
their whereas, that's all I'm reading it, that's
Yeah,
all I
that,
know.
that's what I remember, yeah. And to the point previously too, we'll reach out to Orono and get a little more detail on, but that, especially it's such a like community, in terms of size.
And I know the other thing I just should say is, and really it's in deference to Sarah, who's done such enormous work on this over the last year or so. The architect we're working with, Sealander Architects, has been very good, but we're realizing that as time goes on, if we don't get started and move forward fairly quickly, for example, with this dynamic, we're gonna start losing blocks of potential funding that'll kind of, one of the reasons we appreciated the special meeting is that there's a certain urgency, I think, here. Sarah?
And the project only gets more expensive.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
The longer we wait.
Just, Councilor Smith, yeah.
What's the decision we need to make tonight? Because it sounds like you're going to be doing more research. We need to decide, and ideally to vote on a ban of up to some amount.
Yes.
And then, with an understanding that you're still fine tuning some things. Is that the decision that's being asked of the council tonight? Not what's the overall that feeds into our decision.
Correct. I'd say there's two pieces. One is, a proclamation that the council supports us submitting a congressionally directed spending package, so we'll have something on hand more than just, it's the city manager who thinks this is a good idea. This is the council, so I think that's important too. I know it's not,
That will show to them who review this, saying, ooh, this is
yeah.
a board of seven.
So I have a thought on this. So from what I'm hearing, right, it would be nice if we knew like what the right ratio was, but we do have one data point of a successful request from Orono that asked for 3.6 and they banned 2.6.
Yep.
Why don't we, I think we should do those numbers. And again, it supports what Steve was saying, that, again, all we're doing is kind of authorizing a ban that we don't know, what is, exactly how much we draw down on. And it's a more robust number than the minimum, and so it shows support. It's the one that we know worked. It was for a library for a year ago in Maine, so to me, that seems like, and 3.6, 3.75 is the number we've been around. So I don't think anyone can say we're being greedy or we're asking for too much if, a town an hour from here of a similar population was awarded it last year. So that's my thought, is just, copy and paste in that sense.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I love that, and to your point, on the momentum. I think the library thought about an expansion a while back too, didn't they?
2017
2017.
and 2011.
So there's been these sort of, and it's like, yeah, I really worry, like, next cycle, we got all this capital stuff coming in, we're gonna keep asking for CDS spending as long as, and this program disappeared for a period of time too, so we don't know, it could be a new administration, new Congress, they got rid of CDS, it used to be called earmarks, but I think it was like a decade period of time where CDS disappeared, so, we have an opportunity here, CDS is available, or we have a very small window when it opens up. How do we put this application in the best possible, so that it passes, so that it doesn't become the 2011, the 2017? And, oh yeah, I wonder when the staff spent hundreds and hundreds of hours on these pieces, and like, that would have been awesome for the city, but it never happened. And this is, can we get it so that it happens?
So that's the goal. We need to get a sense of what those numbers are.
Councilor Halloran?
Sorry, I keep forgetting, sorry.
Do you have anything additional to offer?
I don't. I really feel this is the opportunity, and we just need to move forward on this. I appreciate the thoughtfulness of the council on all of these dimensions, because it's a difficult thing, but it seems to me, in my previous experience, that you ask for a little more than you expect to get, and you also put forward everything that you have in support, you know, which is all the whereases, you know. But also, I mean, I think it's a great idea to, you know, to ask for a little bit more for the match, for the bond. Absolutely. I don't see any harm in that at all. I do have a question about Orono, however. You said that their overall project cost more like $7.5 million or $8 million. So we don't really know what they asked for when they put in that $2.6 million match. They might have asked for $5 million and gotten 3.6. So I think you have to think about that, but that's their next meeting, right? So, but, you know, I'm totally in support of this. You know, I think that this is the time. You know, we don't know, you know, what will come in this next fiscal year. And this is the time to do this, and I hate to see us lose an opportunity.
Thank you. Any other counselor questions or comments? Seeing none. Was this noticed as a public hearing? No. Okay. Well, I think everyone in here other than the Bangor Daily News has talked, so I think we'll. I'd like to see if there's any counselors that would like to put forward a suggested motion. And just one note, I think we want to either have two motions where one's on the ban and one is on the the proclamation of support, because they're related but separate, or we can take it all as one motion. But I think the motion is, as drafted to help us kind of guide us, does not address the proclamation of support. So I just want to be clear that we also vote on that as well.
It sounds like everyone at least supports the ban. It may not hurt to just attach the proclamation of support as that extra oomph, because the library needs a lot of work. And like she said, we can't miss this opportunity. So the proclamation won't hurt.
Okay. And what about the, I guess the other thought I have here is, well, let's use this as a baseline. Are there thoughts on the numbers I just proposed here on asking for 3.6 and authorizing upwards of bond of 2.6 million? Solely based on the fact that that's what Orono got, so it seemed reasonable for us to request it and provide that type of ratio. Councilor Smith?
My concern with that is going back to what their overall budget, or what their overall project cost was, and ours is 2 million less than that. So,
But if we don't ask for it, we can't get it?
I know, it's a dance. So what were the numbers you were proposing again?
3.6 and 2.6. I think asking for 3.6 in CDS and saying that we're in our vote for the ban for 2.6, because those are the same
I
numbers.
think that exceeds the budget.
Yes. I think it would exceed the budget for the project, including the library fundraising.
So could I suggest, in conversation and finding what we're all comfortable with, a $3 million ask for the CDS, a ban of up to $2 million, because we have 550, you all have 555 in hand, and that leaves a buffer for some capital, but we're not reliant on the capital. So 2 million, a ban of up to 2 million, an ask of 3 million, you've got a $500,000. So like that's the numbers.
And
I would ask one more thing on the proclamation. I don't see anything about the historic nature of the building, because if you read it, it's like, get a new building. But if there was another, whereas the historic nature and the connection to community of that building, and that's why we're investing in it and not bulldozing it, I think would add, somebody's going to see value in that as we do. And we've been talking about it tonight, but I didn't see it in here.
So in the first one, it says it's been the cornerstone of education, civic engagement, community life for more than 130 years, but we don't really have like the historic
It
black.
could just be an old building. It's not an old building, it's a beautiful piece of our history.
We could add a second whereas after that, whereas.
I don't want to belabor the point. If that isn't highlighted enough, consider adding it. If you feel it's covered, that's fine too. I feel that's like officially the weeds. Well, no, it's not, because it is an important point, so for your consideration.
I do like the proposed amounts of 3 million for the ask and 2 million for the band.
Is it national event or is it,
It is on the National Register of Historic Homes.
I think that ought to be,
The Colonel Jordan Meltia House.
There you go.
Meltia, how do you say it? Anybody Ellsworthians in here? Meltiah. I don't know how to say that.
good thing we can just type it out.
It's just,
We nickname it the Tisdale House. It's a lot less
Yes.
of a mouthful.
got an option for a whereas.
Let's
Where
hear it.
the Ellsworth Public Library is located in a historic structure that is part of the city's collection of properties recognized on the National Register of Historic Places, and the proposed renovation and expansion project will preserve the historic character of this important civic landmark. As a
Sound
second
good to the
reason,
library folks?
I can- if
Sounds-
somebody wants
You
to-
said it's a historic home? So you said something about it being part of structures, but it has its own designation, is
On
what
the
I heard.
National Historic Homes Registry or Places?
Yeah, the register, maybe it's called the National Register of Historic Places, but it,
That's the official one. I didn't know if you had a
Yeah.
special subset for homes.
I think that's the.
No, there's a few buildings
National
in
Historic.
I was just looking at updating
Yeah.
our website link and. I've
If
slept
only
since
we
then.
had a computer in front of us where we could look this stuff up.
What do I want
But-
to ask Jeeves here?
We have the link on our History of the Library website page.
Yeah, I'll pull that link. You could,
If you want to work on that, and I think we can talk about numbers. So we have N. Smith and M. Smith are in support of 3 million ask and 2 million ban. Any other counselors have thoughts otherwise or in support? Counselor White?
I'm in support. I like the 3-2. I think we should be asking for more than what we expect to get. And I'd like to see the federal dollars, our tax dollars, coming back into our community. That serves well more than our actual residents of Ellsworth. So I don't feel that it's greedy to ask for more in this case, because we do serve quite a few people, not only with the library, just the city in general. Yeah.
Counselor Shea, Counselor Halloran, any further thoughts before we entertain a motion?
Could I ask that question more specifically? Are these numbers that you're both comfortable with that you would vote for, or do you want to offer something else? While you contemplate, it's the, never mind, I had it and I gotta bring it up to make sure I've got it. Charlie, it's the National Register of Historic Places. You know,
I'm good with asking more for the band.
To
so
2
the three and
million?
the,
Yeah.
3 and the 2?
It will show to them that let's go for it. You know what I mean?
or, so Steve, is that something you could vote for, or is there another pair of numbers that you would
No,
support?
I will not vote for that, but that's for the reasons I said earlier. But that doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Is there a pair of numbers that you would vote for?
I stated that earlier, that,
I don't remember what they were, Steve.
you know, I don't like being greedy Gus.
Right?
And I believe that we should ban whatever we're asking for.
So you're saying
100%.
match 1-to-1, is that what you're
Correct.
saying?
Now, look, and I don't know, I don't think anyone in this room knows what triggers, I would assume that some of these things that trigger this economic boost, we don't know. We don't understand the whole process. I don't think we can. I'm not sure that anybody but Collins has seen enough of this to understand. But if a ban is just a number that you could go up to, I don't know why we wouldn't put our best foot forward. Not saying we have to do it. Maybe this award, if it ever happens, I doubt it ever does, but if it does, maybe there are strings that says you must fund 63% match to achieve this, or whatever it might be. Be in a position to meet the demand if the money is dangled in front of you.
Charlie, were you able to wordsmith a whereas?
I am. I'm going to go, whereas the historic library, which is listed on the National Register of Historic Places, is steeped in the civic history of Ellsworth and has served as the city's public library since 1897, when philanthropist George Nixon Black donated the remodeled building to the city of Ellsworth with the condition that the premises conveyed shall be always used for a public library, establishing a lasting commitment to public learning and community access that continues to this day.
That's beautiful.
Perfect.
Is that replace the first paragraph or in a?
I just added this a second.
After the first one?
In between there, and I'm about to send to the full city council the updated full one. So if somebody has Nancy, it seems like she has a computer out, we'll have a digital version of that, or
I can also share with you guys. You want to-
it'll just have the additional paragraph if you want to just read what's in front of you and add that one paragraph.
Well, has everyone had an opportunity to read the proclamation? Would the council like it to be read again out loud before we consider it, or does everyone feel like they've had the opportunity to consider it?
And for clarity, if I may, you're adding a second paragraph in the whereas section.
Correct, yes.
Yep, as
First
read.
whereas, or where are you putting
It'd
it?
be this between the first and the third.
Okay.
So,
That is the
and
new
the
paragraph.
whereas, just again, is whereas the historic library, which is listed in the National Register of Historic Places, is steeped in the civic history of Ellsworth and has served as the city's public library since 1897, with philanthropist George Dixon Black donated the remodeled building to the city of Ellsworth with the condition that the premises conveyed shall be always used for a public library, establishing a lasting commitment to public learning and community access that continues this day. Thank you, Nancy, or Councilor Smith, for pointing that out. I really like that.
I think that's
Thank you for getting that
powerful.
good website.
Just one clerical edit. At the end of that whereas, it should be a semicolon and then an and.
The grammar police rule.
There's no
Just,
semicolons anywhere else in these whereas.
or
All of them
colon, sorry, what did I?
need- All of the whereases need colons?
No, you've got,
No,
there
at
are
the end.
semicolons out before each and at the
Oh,
end of
before,
each phrase.
oh. and
At the
it's-
very
yeah,
end.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's a stylistic thing, but the rest of them are like that, so.
Yep, yep, I get you. All right.
And that's not to take away at all from a very well-crafted
Yep.
sentence that was done very quickly. And even with direct quotes, so well done. So I think we've got, it sounds like we've got a majority of the council that are in support of asking for 3 and banning up to 2. And we have a proclamation of support that we've all had the opportunity to read, in addition to the additional whereas clause that Manager Pierce drafted for us and has been placed as the second whereas clause in the document.
I'm happy to do the motion if
I would-
everyone's ready.
I would welcome a motion. I think we've discussed it. I think we've all been able to provide our position on it. Other than Manager Pierce, any further thoughts?
It was just a note on the motion that it's not to approve the ban at those amounts, but a move to direct the city manager to secure and bring back to council for discussion. Just, we're not approving that. at this meeting.
But we will be approving the proclamation.
Correct, the proclamation is, I
Okay.
think they probably, correct me if I'm wrong, Councilor Lyons, but maybe there's the proclamation is one piece.
I think we should vote for the proclamation separately,
Okay.
just to keep it clean. And I think, why don't we take it in steps, and maybe the first one, vote for the proclamation? I think that one is the kind of broader one. So if you wanted to make a motion, Counselor Smith, on that,
All right.
I think you can kind of just make it up.
Okay, let's do this. I make a motion to approve the amended, proclamation of support for congressional directed spending request for the renovation and expansion of the Ellsworth Public Library.
Great. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. We have a M. Smith, N. Smith motion and second. Any further, as amended, referencing to that one paragraph we discussed? Any further questions, comments from council on the motion as proposed? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those against? Yeas have it, 5-1. Yeah, so now let's move to the suggested motion on the ban. And Manager Pierce provided some suggested language to clarify we're not approving it, and we've discussed going up to 2 million. If Councilor M. Smith is ready to make a motion, please go ahead.
Yep. I make the motion to direct the city manager to pursue or to a 2 million bond appreciation note financing to serve as the city's local match for the Ellsworth Public Library's congressional directed spending requests for the library's renovation project, should the request be awarded. That all legally sound?
Sounds good to me. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Councilor White. Any further discussion from the council?
I just want to put it out there that I think that we have a very good chance of getting this, and I'm just going to put that good juju out there into the world.
Having seen all the hard work that the board has put
Yeah.
into this, the community is committed to this, and this is going to be so great for our community. Sorry, I can gush all I want about the library, but we got a vote to do.
No,
We have gushing and good juju.
Gush away, gushing a good juju, all right. On that note, all those in favor? Opposed? Yeas carry it, 5-1. Go get a bunch of money and just, let's renovate the library.
No pressure.
Yeah, that's worth a round of applause right there.
Good luck, Sarah.
Thank you all
These are
for your work.
congressional.
And I make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn, do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilor White and Shea. It was a tie, but we'll give it to Councilor White.
Sorry, I'm slow.
All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you.